Tennessee picked up a big win over Vanderbilt over the weekend, and in this game, we saw the ceiling and the floor of this Tennessee basketball team on full display. Hey, Lucas Panzica here from 104.5 The Zone and A to Z Sports. Final score from Knoxville, Tennessee 81, Vanderbilt 76. The Vols get a big bounce-back win, and they avoid a regular season sweep by the Commodores after losing to Vanderbilt at Memorial Gym just a few weeks ago. There's no doubt this was a quality win and an inspired second-half performance by Tennessee, coming back from down by as much as 16 points and hanging 50 in the second half to get the win. But we saw two very different versions of this basketball team in the same game. There was the first half version that was outscored by Vanderbilt 44-31. That was out-rebounded by Vanderbilt 21-10. And in the first half, Tennessee star point guard Zakai Ziegler had 0 points on 0 of 2 shooting from the floor. And then there was the second half where Tennessee exploded offensively and clamped down on Vanderbilt. The Vols outscored the Commodores 50-32 in the back half of that game, totally flipped the script in the rebounding numbers, out-rebounding Vandy 20-10, and Zakai Ziegler caught fire, scoring 22 points and leading Tennessee to a victory with 8 assists for the game as well. Now, that first half version of Tennessee basketball likely does not make it out of the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. That team looked lethargic. That team did not match Vanderbilt's effort coming in on the road. That team struggled to hit some open shots, struggled to close out shooters, and was dominated on the glass, something that has been very uncharacteristic of Rick Barnes' teams. And Tennessee certainly looked like it was in a woeful position going into halftime. But the second half version of this Tennessee basketball team, that's a team that looks like it can make a deep run in March. That's a team that was hitting open shots, that was clamping down defensively, and that totally changed the narrative of that game from a physicality standpoint, winning, doubling up Vanderbilt on the boards. Tennessee played angry. Tennessee played with a chip on its shoulder, and Tennessee looked like the best version of itself in that second half, but the worst version of itself in that first half. The question is, which Tennessee team are we going to get come March and come the NCAA tournament? This is not a new trend this season. We've seen Tennessee have to dig out of holes before. We've seen Tennessee have some Jekyll and Hyde performances this season. In the first meeting against Florida in January, Tennessee lost by 30. They just didn't show up in Gainesville. In the second meeting against Florida in Knoxville, Tennessee, despite being without Zakai Ziegler and Igor Milicic Jr., had their best defensive performance of the season and blew out the Gators in Knoxville. Tennessee against Missouri was down by 11 before scoring 57 points in the second half for an impressive second half performance and another ranked win. Now, the Vols have not consistently had bad performances in SEC play. They've had some bad shooting performances in both games against Kentucky. Tennessee didn't necessarily play poorly. They just could not get a three-pointer to go down. But this first half performance against Vanderbilt was as concerning as it has been all season. The second half performance was as uplifting as this team has looked all season long. They've got to find some sort of consistency down the stretch this season. Now, Tennessee does not have a midweek game coming up, and it feels like that break comes at a good time. But this back stretch of 5 games in the regular season is going to be a difficult run with matchups against Texas A&M, Alabama, and Ole Miss, all ranked teams, and we'll see which version of Tennessee shows up in those games and in the postseason.